Before your alarm even goes off tomorrow morning, your salary has already been divided up. Netflix took theirs, Apple took theirs, Spotify took theirs, Adobe took theirs, and you haven't even opened your eyes yet. Not hackers, not scammers, companies you trust. 7 companies, 7 subscriptions before you've had coffee. And if you told someone this in 2005, they would have laughed. Software was something you bought, you owned it. Nobody could take it back. So what actually happened? How did every major industry, software, hardware, fitness, your car, end up in exactly the same place at exactly the same time? Welcome to the paradigm effect. We investigate the hidden incentives behind the systems shaping your everyday life, because buried inside Wall Street earnings reports, investor presentations, and federal court filings, we found a single metric that quietly rewired modern corporate strategy. And by the time we are done, you will never look at the free trial the same way again. But first, I need to tell you about a freelance graphic designer, because this story starts with him and ends somewhere far more uncomfortable than you'd expect. Picture this, it's 2012. Alex is a freelance graphic designer based in Austin. He's scraped together $700, real money, to buy Adobe Photoshop outright. He owns it. Adobe got paid, the transaction is complete. He builds his entire portfolio inside it. He delivers every client project through it. That wasn't just software. It was 3 years of his livelihood. And then Adobe sends an email. Starting next month, Photoshop no longer works unless he pays $55 every single month. There is no option to keep what he already owns. The files are still there. His work is still there. But access locked. He had no real choice. Neither did the millions of designers, photographers, and filmmakers who depended on Adobe's software to earn a living. Industry forums exploded. Adobe's own stock dropped the day the announcement landed, and then something completely unexpected happened. The stock recovered and kept climbing year after year after year. Microsoft was watching. Apple was watching. BMW, yes, the car company, was watching. They all looked at Adobe's results and realized Adobe hadn't simply changed how it sold software. It had changed how Wall Street valued the entire company. We'll name the metric in a moment, but first, you need to see it the way a CEO sees it. Because once you do, the last 10 years of corporate strategy will suddenly make perfect sense. Imagine you're running a company. You sell a $1,000 product. Wall Street looks at your books and counts that as $1,000 of revenue. The sale happened. It's done. Now go find another customer. But now imagine you charge $100 per year and your customers keep renewing. Wall Street often values predictable recurring revenue far more highly than one-time sales, sometimes at dramatically higher multiples. Same money, completely different story, a fundamentally different stock valuation. This is annual recurring revenue, ARR, 3 letters that changed how trillion-dollar companies are built. And the moment executives internalized this math, every product on earth became a subscription waiting to happen. Because a CEO whose company switches from one-time sales to recurring revenue doesn't just change accounting. He changes how Wall Street values the entire business. The same company can suddenly become worth tens of billions more without selling dramatically more products. If you're beginning to see how these invisible financial systems shape your everyday life, you're exactly who this channel is for. Subscribe to the Paradigm Effect, because this is only one piece of a much bigger investigation. So, did companies actually start thinking this way? Or is this just a theory? That's where the documents become interesting. When you compare the investor presentations from Adobe, Microsoft, Apple, and BMW, they all highlight the exact same thing. Adobe's investor communications increasingly shifted toward recurring revenue metrics and subscriber growth, treating ARR as one of the company's most important indicators of long-term performance. Not new sales, not innovation, not better software, retention. By 2017, Microsoft 365 replaced software that hundreds of millions of people had purchased once and owned. Apple built an entirely new revenue division around the same logic. Apple's services business became one of the company's largest revenue segments. In 2023, Apple made over $100 billion from services alone. That's more annual revenue than many Fortune 100 companies generate in their entirety without selling a single additional iPhone. Every photo backed up, every extra gigabyte, every forgotten family subscription. Small monthly payments becoming one of the biggest businesses on earth. Not from selling better iPhones, from making you never stop paying for the ones you've already bought. Different industries, different products, different executives. Somehow, exactly the same model. These were already profitable companies. They didn't need to change. So why did they all voluntarily walk away from something that was working? Because ARR doesn't just change your revenue. It changes what kind of company Wall Street believes you are. Which brings us to the car company. In 2022, BMW took a feature already physically installed in their vehicles, heated front seats, and locked it behind an $18 monthly subscription. You could have paid $60,000 for that car. The wiring is already there. The heating elements are already there. Inside a vehicle you technically own. BMW had simply decided that activating what you had already bought required an ongoing fee. The backlash was immediate. BMW cancelled the program within a year. Here's what almost nobody followed up. They didn't abandon the model, they refined it. BMW's new software-defined vehicles continue expanding optional digital features that can be activated after purchase, reinforcing the company's broader shift toward recurring software revenue. Because BMW didn't conclude that subscriptions were wrong, they concluded that heated seats were too tangible, too visible, too easy to feel cheated by. Software features feel different, and the financial pressure to find recurring revenue was never going to go away. Because here's the part that was engineered specifically for you. When retention becomes your primary metric, making cancellation harder becomes almost mathematically inevitable. Behavioral economists call it the default bias. We don't actively push back against what's already running quietly in the background. That $15 a month buried between your phone bill and a grocery delivery. It barely registers, but $15 a month is $180 a year for something you may have used 4 times. In fact, some industry studies estimate the average American now spends well over $200 a month on subscriptions, often far more than they realize. There is a psychological principle called the pain of payment, the friction you feel when money leaves your hands in real time. A one-time purchase forces that exact moment of evaluation. A silent monthly auto-renewal makes that friction almost entirely disappear. The subscription model didn't just change how companies price things, it changed how your brain registers what things cost. In March 2026, Adobe finalized a $150 million settlement with the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission. The government alleged that Adobe had buried early termination fees inside fine print and hyperlinks, while making subscriptions unnecessarily difficult to cancel. Customers reported navigating multiple screens, repeated transfers, and lengthy cancellation processes. Their most popular plan allegedly displayed a low monthly rate upfront, without clearly disclosing the year-long commitment underneath. 2 senior executives were personally named in the federal complaint. Adobe denied wrongdoing, but agreed to resolve the case through a $150 million settlement. The settlement brought the litigation to an end. The government tried to build guardrails. The FTC's click to cancel rule, finalized in 2024, required that leaving a subscription be as easy as joining one. A federal appeals court struck it down in 2025. By March 2026, the FTC had restarted the entire rulemaking process from scratch because existing consumer protection laws simply couldn't contain what this had become. The government had to engineer entirely new legal frameworks just to make cancellation a basic consumer right. That is the measure of how far this has gone. But it isn't just about software or consumer protection anymore. Investors increasingly ask public companies the same question. How much recurring revenue do you have? Software companies, car manufacturers, media companies, industrial businesses. Recurring revenue has become one of the most influential metrics across software, media, automotive, healthcare, and an increasing number of traditional industries. The subscription economy wasn't adopted independently. It spread because financial markets rewarded one business model more than another, and it isn't slowing down. Industries that once sold products are increasingly selling continuous access instead. Healthcare is already showing similar patterns, not a speculative future, but right now, continuous glucose monitoring, telehealth memberships, concierge medicine, and software-enabled health subscriptions. Remember Alex, the designer from the beginning? The day he bought Photoshop, he thought the transaction had ended. It hadn't. It had only begun. For centuries, capitalism competed for customers. Today, it increasingly competes for predictable, recurring cash flow. They don't just want to sell you a product. Increasingly, they compete to secure a permanent claim on your future spending. That is a very different game. And most people never noticed. The rules changed. Maybe subscriptions were never really about convenience. Maybe they were about transforming every customer into a predictable stream of recurring revenue. The question is, what will still be yours to own 10 years from now?